So today I'm going to be reading some Stalker stories. I found one that was actually a little bit entertaining. I do want to state that if someone's having mental health issues, try to contact someone that can help them, or contact someone yourself. I know the story is a little bit lighthearted and kind of funny, but it does get a little bit extreme for some people. So if you are, in that situation, just make sure you get someone, an adult, if you're a teen, or just someone to get them help. But anyway, I don't want to make this intro a little too long. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like the video. Anyway, so this story I found on Reddit is a little bit crazy, especially for someone dealing with it that's very young. So it's called The One Mistake That Followed Me for 7 Years. Disclaimer. This is a very long post and I'm writing this on my phone, so if there's a lot of mistakes, I'm sorry. It all started in high school. I was a naive, shy, and awkward 14-year-old when I asked this one guy to our school's Sadie Hawkins dance. I knew him from a mutual friend of ours, but we really didn't talk. All I knew was that we both liked anime and manga, and that he was kind of quiet most of the time. So I wanted to be nice and I asked him out to the dance. That was mistake number 1. That started the years of torment. He said yes, and we agreed that we would meet at the dance and with the rest of our friends. A few hours later, I get a message on Facebook from him, and it's a long message telling me that he has always had a crush on me, that I was beautiful, and that he couldn't compare my beauty to anything else because he considered that an insult to how beautiful I was. It was pretty cringy. But at the end of it, he asked if I could be his girlfriend. I was uncomfortable after reading that entire message, but again, being the shy and awkward 14-year-old that I was, I told him yes. Mistake number 2. He was ecstatic. He asked to call me that night and asked for my phone number, and I gave it to him. Mistake number 3. He calls me later that night, and I learned a lot of things that I did not want to know. One of the major things that this guy was a massive crybaby. I'm not trying to say that men that cry are weak, but this guy would cry at everything and would always play the victim. Felt like his friends didn't like him? Cry. No other girl than me would love him? Cry. Teacher failed all of his assignments even though he openly admitted he didn't want to do any of the work? Cry. The list goes on, but I'll get to more things later. I also learned that night that he had a foot fetish. And now that he had his girlfriend, he was going to do so many things to my feet. Again, not trying to shame anyone, but as a 14-year-old who didn't like showing off any part of my body, I was uncomfortable. And when I went silent for a little bit, guess what he did? Cry. Because I thought he was a freak. His words, not mine. I told him no, I didn't think that, though I started to. He instantly cheered up. He continued to call me every night, and the conversations usually were the same as the first night. He called me until the night of the dance. At the dance, he mentioned he never had his first kiss and how sad it was. I already had my first kiss at this point, and I'm glad it wasn't him. I kissed him at the dance just to get it over with. However, throughout the night, he would try to kiss me even more and even tried shoving his tongue in my mouth. Of course, he goes off to sulk and cry. After the dance, I get a text from him saying how magical I made the night for him, that the kiss was delicious, not exaggerating, and how the stupid teacher didn't understand our love, again, not exaggerating. I was feeling pretty sick to my stomach at this point and wanted to break up with this guy, but I stayed a little longer. Mistake number 4. 2 days later, he asked me out on a date to the movies. Stupidly, I said yes, and he asked if one of his best friends could come and if I could bring one of my best friends since his friend found her attractive and wanted her to be his girlfriend. I told both of them no because he wasn't her type, and in all honesty, she hated him. They keep pushing me to bring her, but I kept telling him no. His best friend calls me a killjoy cunt, and he did his usual thing of crying because he didn't get what he wanted. We go to the Lorax that night and his friend sits behind us. The second the light goes out, he turns my head and starts kissing me and pushing his tongue down my mouth. I push him away because I was not going to let him do this to me the entire movie. Again, his friend is right behind us and he keeps trying to kiss me. Movie ends. When I get home, he sends a text saying he was depressed and a picture of my feet would make him feel better. I told him no, and he threatened to kill himself and it would be my fault because I didn't send him a photo. Horrified of how fast he snapped, I sent him a photo. Next night, he asked me if I had been naughty lately. Knowing where this was leading to, I told him no. He then starts crying about how I was cheating on him and that I had been naughty with other people, and again, he threatened to kill himself. I tried to calm him down by telling him that I was a virgin and I was not a sexual person. He suddenly, as if on a dime, stops his fit and asks me if we could completely forget about what just happened. I tried telling him what he did was incredibly inappropriate and was about to tell him to leave me alone, but he pulls the victim card again and starts crying. During the crying, he asked me for another picture of my feet to calm him down. Scared he was going to snap again, I sent him another picture. This continued for a few more days. He would try and message me whenever I was busy at school, babysitting, volunteer work, etc. Accuse me of cheating, tell him what was going on, him saying sorry and playing the victim and asking for pictures of my feet to calm him down. Eventually, I had enough, and after 2 weeks of dating him, I broke it off. He cried, of course, and begged that we at least stayed friends. The school year ended, and he said he was transferring to a new school, so I figured I would never see him again. Wrong. Beginning of the school year, he would message me, and when I didn't respond, cry and threaten to kill himself. After a while, I just started to ignore the messages and threatened to call the police if he didn't stop messaging me. Thought he would have stopped after that, right? Wrong. Every year until I turned 21, he would message me random things at random times. Example, hey my friend, we're friends, right? Can you send me a pic of your feet? I miss you. I'll leave you alone if you want me to. I'm pathetic, aren't I? And so much more. Each time I ignored him and finally blocked him on every platform he tried to contact me on. Fast forward to 21. I'm in college and ways away from my town and from him, and I have a boyfriend. I get a notification from Instagram saying he started following my profile. I quickly block him, and not even 5 minutes later, I get a message from Facebook from a random profile I didn't know. The message read, "Why did you block me on Instagram?" I lost it. I sent him a long message telling him if he contacted me in any way, shape, or form, I would get a restraining order and tell him how damaging that would be to his reputation and his future. Again, he played the victim card and told me he couldn't believe he fell for a liberal bitch like me and to never contact him again. Never heard from him again, and good riddance. A few months later, I get a message from a girl who used to date him as well. She told me he used to threaten to kill himself and cry if she told him she ever left him. Again, sorry for the long post. More details, but this story was way too long. And again, since she was in high school, she really should have told a counselor or a teacher or her parents or someone, so that way his parents could have gotten him help, because he did start acting a little too like that movie You. So yeah, if it's somebody young. If you're a teenager and dealing with something like that, you really shouldn't tell an adult. Okay, I had to clean my camera because it's a little bit smudgy. I just read this other story that seemed more like catfish than stalker, so I decided to just cut that one out. This next one is a fine line between fantasy and reality. What are the effects of being stalked? Once it happens, does it affect you in that way? I was 16, going about my life and trying to score well in tests to go to college, to go to the college of my choice. He was in the class adjacent to mine. I've never spoken to him. I've only seen him around here and there. When school was about to end, he sent a slam book through a friend for me to write in. I found it very weird because we have had absolutely no contact, and I refused to write in it, and I told her that I didn't know him, so I wouldn't. On the last day of school, while I was waiting in the parking lot, he and a friend come stand in front of me and start saying things and making hand gestures. I don't say anything, I just walk away as the car arrived. He then started calling up my aunt. I'd given everyone at school her number and talking to her. It never struck me as excessively odd because she never could remember his name, and she just told me it was one of my classmates. He was trying to get into a similar college to mine, so they just talked about that. A year later, a friend calls me and tells me that he came to her house asking information about me. He apparently told her that he liked her so much because she was friends with me. Her dad was at home when it happened, so he told her to inform me. She thought I knew about him, but I didn't. He was apparently also going around my town looking for me and asking other people about me. She told me about how he followed me home and that she found this out through someone else, but I had no idea about that either. Then I remembered all the times he and I were going in the same direction, his vehicle coming behind mine. But I brushed it off thinking it was because he lived nearby. How very wrong was I. I was 18 and I was coming home for Christmas vacation and saw him on the way to my house. He was with a friend. He started following me. I had to get my passport renewed, so I needed to schedule an appointment. For that, I went to the office, and as I was telling some personal info, he came in and he started to make small talk with one of the men there. I got out after my work there was done. His friend and him were on the other side of the road to where my car was parked. I went home, but it didn't seem like they were following me then. But it doesn't matter really because they already knew where I lived. I checked my phone after I got home and I had a message from an unknown number around the time I was in the office. It was him. He introduced himself in it. I immediately blocked him and he messaged from another number at this time. The message said his motive wasn't to mess with me and that he never talked to me in school or did anything else because of the same. What? He would delete my number, everything he had, as a reminder of me, and that this would be the last message if I thought so. It ended with him saying that he just wanted me to know that he liked me. I blocked his number as well. I found it very creepy that he had to delete my number and everything he had as a reminder of me, mostly because I don't know how he got my number, and we've never interacted with him to have things that remind him of me. I thought I saw him just outside my backyard the next day, but I just rushed inside and locked the doors and didn't dare peek out the window. The next few days, I was looking out the window every now and then, making sure there was no one there. I felt unsafe in my own home. I got back to college when I got a call from an unknown number. Because I'd given my number for official purposes, I don't always know who exactly was calling me. But I still picked up because it could have been important. It was his friend. He said I had no right to just block him like that and that I did not know how to respect people. He said the stalker changed after what I had done to him and I was ruining his life, and that the stalker did not know that he had called me. He said he didn't want me to be the reason for the ruin of someone's life, so he was telling me this. In order to undo the damage I had done, I needed to talk to the stalker. He was very demanding and pushy. I said I refused. Why would his friend say that? I genuinely felt afraid and traumatized by that phone call so much that I ran to a friend's house in tears and told him about it. They told me if it were to happen again, I should just tell him off. For a while, whenever I got phone calls from an unknown number, my heart would start pounding and my hands would start shaking. I was afraid it would be them, again. I was 19 when I got a message from an unknown number asking me how my exams were. I don't know how he knew I had exams. Maybe he had friends spying on me? I blocked that number as well. I then proceeded to cut off all my school friends because I didn't know who was giving him information about me. I was getting very paranoid, especially when I got a phone call from someone I knew back then. Of course I didn't pick up. Then I got random messages from a few numbers that I again blocked. The reason I didn't change my number was because I had given it to a number of places for official purposes, and it would be a pain to change it everywhere. I still don't know if he has people spying on me, and I don't know if he's gone for good, but I still feel unsafe and afraid sometimes. No one should have to go through something like this, because someone doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. Getting obsessed with someone to the point of threatening them with their life is downright horrifying. This story says, potential kidnapping. This is going to be long, so I apologize in advance, but it's creepy as hell. I was at a local grocery store I visit weekly to shop for food. I normally spend about $100 or $200 a week on food for myself and my family, so I always leave with a full cart. I'm standing in the checkout line minding my business when a tall man, I'd guess early 40s, approached me and complimented my hair. "Your hair is gorgeous." Loud enough for everyone within a 20-foot radius to hear. Now, I appreciate a compliment as much as the next girl, but it seemed a little obnoxious to say the least. I thanked him politely and I redirected my attention to my cart, where I awkwardly started organizing the items, in hopes that the 15 pairs of eyes now staring in my direction would look elsewhere. Unfortunately, Loudmouth didn't take the hint. He started asking rapid-fire questions, statements, barely pausing for me to get a word end edgewise before the next sentence would spill out of his mouth. This is when it really got awkward. As if it wasn't weird enough, he asked if I want to go out with him sometime, maybe tonight, after I put my groceries away. He could come to my house, help me put my groceries away, and then we could leave from there. I told him I didn't think my husband would appreciate that, and he got angry. I was freaked out at this point, and everyone was still staring. After I rejected his offer, he changed his mood so fast it was like a light switch got flipped, and the compliments turned into nasty insults and curses. Mind you, this guy didn't have a cart or anything in his hand to buy. He was kind of standing off to the side, kind of leaning on one of the drink refrigerator displays. Thankfully, a gentleman who was in the aisle within my sight, who presumably heard the whole thing, came up behind us and asked him if he was in line. Loudmouth said no. The gentleman promptly told him he was being inappropriate, loud, and needed to buzz off. To my surprise, Loudmouth stepped aside and with one final insult stomped out of the store. I thanked the gentleman and we continued in line. Me with an entire week of groceries and him with a bottle of Gatorade. I offered to let him go in front of me and he declined, saying he wasn't in a rush. It was really like one of those scenes in a movie where the nice tough guy saves the girl from the jackass. Even so, I was afraid Loudmouth would be waiting outside, so I asked the cashier to call one of her co-workers to walk me to my car. Gentleman insisted he would be happy to escort me to my car, and I accepted. But as I stood there watching the cashier ring my items, I was overcome by this sick feeling like I was going to vomit everywhere. I decided it was just my nerves as I have issues with anxiety and this reaction is pretty normal. It typically passes within a few minutes once I mentally talk myself down. But for fear of further embarrassment, this time in the form of projectile vomiting, in the middle of the grocery store, I hurriedly paid and took a seat at the bench close by. I told gentleman, never mind, and that I was a little freaked out, so I was going to call my husband to come pick me up instead. We'd get the car later. I didn't care. I just wanted to make it home in one piece. He told me to have a nice day and walked out the door. Hand to God, as soon as he walked out of the building, I felt normal again. So still blaming my anxiety, I felt sort of silly, but I'd already called my husband, so I stood up and pushed my car over to the window to watch for my ride, just in time to see a junky white SUV drive by with, freaking wait for it, gentleman in the passenger seat and loudmouth in the driver's seat. I about shit myself. That one is so, oh my god. That is so creepy. Oh my god, I swear. Like, I got those type of feelings too, like when I can feel like if it's somebody like that's a good person or somebody that's a bad person. And I get those type of feelings. So I can just imagine, like, oh my god, I would have called my husband too, like, oh my god. Like, I wouldn't ask for a stranger to, like, walk me out of the car. Like, just, no, I'll stick to, like, a worker. Alright, so these two stories are a little bit long, and I don't want to make this video too long. I want to make sure to get this out today. So, I hope you liked it. If you did like the video, if you're new, again, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!